Hello, everyone, and welcome back or welcome to Vessel of Light. I am Nana Hasia, and I am a spiritual healer and an inner work self esteem coach. This channel is all about healing and embodying our God given identity. So, this video is about why spiritually gifted men and women must release unhealthy ego. Now, when you are a spiritually gifted man or woman, and what I mean by this is you have been given gifts that are either ancestral, from the Most High, to cause shifts within not only yourself but within others. You have psychic abilities, you have healing abilities. Maybe you're into herbalism. Maybe you're able to be an exorcist. You know how to speak to people in ways that really entices their spirits and their souls. You know what the right things to say are to heal people. You have those empathic qualities. Oftentimes, people who have these gifts and abilities and who have these bright stars do go through a multitude of awakenings or a multitude of seasons in their life that prepare them to embody their God given identity. Now, when you are learning about who you are, maybe you've always known from your childhood that you've had certain gifts or that you were able to stand out in certain ways, or you're just now getting to know the full breadth of your identity. Understand that releasing unhealthy ego is very, very important. So, usually, before you even get to the stage of realizing the breadth and depth of who you are, you will have to go through an ego death, right? And what this means is it's a purification process that is quite painful and can be very emotionally and psychologically taxing, but it ensures that you allow all the lies about who you were told to be to fall away. Let's be very honest here. People who are usually spiritually gifted, people who are empaths, people who stand out in certain ways have usually been targets throughout their entire lives. You may have gone through bullying, you may have gone through serious friendship betrayals, betrayals through romantic partnerships. You may have gone through very, very trying times where people have actively tried to break you. People have really tried to like break you down to a point where recovery becomes very, very difficult for you. And I always say that this is because the enemy always wants to make sure that your spirit is broken almost beyond repair so that you can never actualize into the man or woman that the Most High has called for you to be, so that you don't get to fully embody that breadth of your spiritual identity, your God given identity, right? So, going through these different phases in your life, right, causes a fracture in the spirit, right? Because when you go through the bullying, you go through the harassment, you go through the rejection, and all of that, there usually comes a time where you begin to thrive in one way, shape, or form. So, if you haven't really learned to heal your past traumas, if you haven't learned to go through the dark night of the soul, or you're not actively doing shadow work, this can cause almost an identity crisis within yourself, right? Where, on one hand, in one phase in your life, you've been rejected, ridiculed, mocked, and in another phase, you're being celebrated, you're being um, people are finally recognizing the impact that you're having in one way, shape, or form. You're finally kind of growing into the identity that you're always meant to embody. You're getting your rightful inheritance, right? So during this time, releasing unhealthy ego is very, very important because the enemy always likes to dwell in places of darkness and places that haven't been exposed to light. So usually what happens is the Most High will put you in situations with people where you'll be forced to confront your shadows. So these shadows will oftentimes kind of psychologically take you back to the times in your life where you've experienced certain traumas, the bullying, the rejection, the the betrayal, the what have you, whatever you went through, right? And this is because you need to make peace with your shadows. You need to make peace with the parts of you that have been bruised, and you have to soothe them. You have to be able to understand what kind of behavior patterns these things, these shadows cause into your life, and how you can energetically release them, because these all create unhealthy ego. And an unhealthy ego not only blocks you from receiving light, but the enemy can also use it to his advantage to regress you and take you back many, many notches, right? So this is why going through that ego death and that dark night of the soul is very, very important. And I always say that when you are learning about your true identity in the eyes of the Most High, please try not to gravitate towards the ego boosting content, because there's so much content here on YouTube about the chosen ones, about the triple threats, right? And a lot of this content, I'm just going to say it very honestly, a lot of this content is ego boosting content. This is content that's just constantly telling you how great you are, how special you are, how everybody wants to be you. And don't get it twisted, when you do have a bright star, when you are here to make shifts, these things do occur. So, yes, the copycats do exist, the betrayals, the witchcraft attempts, the smear campaigns, the attempts to destroy you physically, all of that exists, right? But you are not meant to wear that as a pride. I'll just be very honest. You're not meant to wear that as something that gives you a leg up above anybody else. These are things that happen so that you can gain the wisdom to live your life. Because honestly speaking, when you are gifted, you need to understand that you cannot be living your life like most people. You cannot be living your life um kind of just willy-nilly, like going anywhere, being everywhere, entertaining just anybody. You have to be very selective and discerning with who you let around you and the kind of habits and mindsets that you let into your being, right? So while that is true, you also have to be very careful about unhealthy ego, because the way the Most High made you is not just for, it's not for your self aggrandizement. I hate to break it to you. It's not because the Most High wants you to be like, look how great I am. Look at me, 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 me. It's not about that. You're here to be used as a vessel. You're here to be used as a means of transformation for yourself and for others, right? So when you get stuck into that little box um of the ego boosting stuff, you are limiting your capacity to grow beyond your traumas, beyond unhealthy ego. It's incredibly limiting, and it's not liberating, because believe me, you, in order to fully embody yourself, you must embrace that true dark feminine energy. And dark feminine energy is not manipulative, it's not evil, it's not deceitful. It's about liberation and it's about truth, right? It's about liberation from the own lies that you've been told about who you are. It's about liberation from your own limiting beliefs, and it's about liberation from your own fears, right? That is what true dark feminine energy is. It's why a lot of spiritually gifted men and women end up becoming mirrors for people, right? Oh, I wish I had a bottle of water here. It's why a lot of spiritually gifted men and women end up becoming mirrors for people, because we can mirror the things that people need to work on, right? And this isn't a bad thing. It's actually a good thing when others welcome it and when we also welcome it, because other people's can be mirrors for us too. It's a two-way street here. So understanding that the ego death and releasing unhealthy ego is very, very important for your own transformation, for your own full embodiment, but also so you can actively listen to the instructions of the Most High in different seasons of your life. So there are times in your life where you will go through phases that don't make sense to you initially. There'll be times in your life where you'll have to go through different transformations, um different transformations, different seasons. The Most High will speak to you and you will be like, is this really what you want me to do? So if you have a lot of unhealthy ego, if you have a lot of pride, this can actually prevent you from listening to the Most High, right? And I can speak about this from my own experience. Is when I graduated from university a couple of months ago, And I was like, okay, what do I do now? Like I was working in social market research for a bit. I had lots of experience around the world. I worked with people in Africa, in Canada. I've done a lot, right? And my experience is something that I'm proud of, but I was like, what do I now want to do? And I just, kept hearing to be creative, to use my creativity to really bring out all that stuff I've learned to the forefront, to become more creative, to utilize my creativity and to turn my focus inwards, right? And like looking at that, I was like, girl, I literally just left one of the best institutions in the world and now this, right? So there was a lot of resistance at the start. I'll be very honest with you, because one thing I will always be is honest. I will always share my experiences very openly and very honestly with people, because I'm not here to make it seem like I'm better than anyone. I am here to share that while we are great, okay, while we are great spiritually gifted men and women, we still have a lot to purge. We still have a lot to um we still have a yeah we have a lot to learn, we have a lot to purge, because of the limiting beliefs that we may have and that we've also inherited collectively as men and women, right? So listen to the Most High's instructions is very, very important, and this is why clearing away the unhealthy ego is very, very important. The part of you that's like, but I should be here, I should be doing this, I should have this, right? Like right now, understand that your life is very, very specific and very much curated to you. It's very much created to your path and your identity. So even when it doesn't make sense, even when you're like, okay, I've heard this message from the Most High, I know what you want me to do, but do you really want me to do this? Is this really where you want me to be at the moment? Clearing that unhealthy ego and going inwards is very, very important. And clearing energy, right? I always talk about doing a burn and release ritual, right? Where you write all these unhealthy energies on paper and you burn it, right? Because being in different seasons in your life is what transform you as spiritually gifted men and women. You are not made to follow the average life path of most people. You are made to follow a very, very specific life path that is specific to you, which does entail not always knowing what's next. It also entails not always knowing, the full breadth of things, how things are going to play out. But it's a path of trust. It's not punishment. And I have to say that it's not punishment. And I'm saying that to myself as well. It's not punishment, it's pruning, right? Because where you are going, you cannot go with unhealthy ego. Where you are going, you cannot go with a false sense of identity and a false sense of pride. You need to rid yourself of all of the residue of the things that you may have gone through, right? So I highly recommend going through facing your shadows and going through that dark night of the soul, even though it's tough. And I am here to help you and hold your hand. So I am holding a free masterclass on shadow work and mindset healing on the 15th of November, which you can just email me and I'll send you the Zoom link for. If you would also like to work with me one-on-one to address whatever spiritual concerns that you have, whatever matters that you may, spiritual matters, but also healing matters within your mindset, within your soma, feel free to book a session with me. My website will be linked in the description box and in the comments below. Remember that life is about unraveling. Your identity is still unraveling and you're discovering the full breadth of who you are. Being thrown into the unknown, being thrown into your ego deaths, shadow work, is not to punish you, but it's to really truly allow you to know who you are, and so that your God-given destiny can manifest. So as always, I'm wishing you all love, positive transformation and blessings, and I will see you in the next video.